did and one didn't. One of them discovered their finger within weeks after they were born. And I was always happy that she did, because it seemed like she could pacify herself whenever. Yeah. Is that recommended or not?
I think that, it's hard to, not to have a child not suck on something.
Yeah.
And it's all a personal preference of whether you want to get into a pacifier or not, and if they're using their finger. I think that, it's not going to harm them in any way, and it might make them feel better.
Yeah. This was actually my daughter, and so she was 3 years behind her brother, and she would sit around and watch him all the time anyway. But if she could pacify herself whenever she wanted to, it just seemed to make her calm her.
Right,
I don't know.
right.
Yeah, as opposed to me trying to figure out when she might want, and we weren't pushing the pacifiers.
Right, exactly.
But she was doing it to herself. So.
Right, right.
Okay.
There's no problem.
One of the things that you know all this stuff, but I'm learning it. And hosting a show like this, I learn an awful lot about early childhood every day just from people like you. And one of the things I never knew was that when a newborn loves to be just like this. And that when the whole issue of wrapping them, and I think that's why when you see a kid being Velcroed down like this, they go nuts with that, because it's just, and I can see why it's different than what they've just had for the last 9 months. They've just been in that fetal position, and they may just want to keep it going. But with that whole issue of wrapping,
yeah, parents always ask me, well, why do we wrap them like that, or how long should I wrap them like that? Babies love to be swaddled because it does remind them of how they were, before they came out into this world with the bright lights and cold, and now they're hungry and they have to get on an eating schedule. So we like to, for probably, it depends on the baby, but probably for the first couple weeks, they just like to be swaddled and have their hands, kind of just nice and tight. It's warm. And I have a little example of wrapping a baby. Parents always ask, well, how do I do it? And everybody has their own way of doing it, but I like to pretend that we've got Yankee Stadium, and you fold down one corner of the blanket, make that home plate, put the baby's shoulders right behind home plate, and then take first base and kind of wrap it over. And so here in the video I'm doing third base first, and then second, and then first. But either way, and just kind of wrap. You want to make sure that the baby's face is open, that it's not covered up by the blanket at all. And they just love it. They love, I call it a baby burrito or a cocoon, or they just and the parents find too that it just makes the baby happy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, I can see that. And so that's just was a whole different way for me to look at that. I had mentioned that I noticed that they liked to be up really tight in that. How long does that last, that they like that?
Well, every baby's different, but usually a couple weeks they'll just like to be, kind of cuddled and swaddled. But every baby's different, so. Okay, all right.
But I guess my tendency in the beginning was not to do that, to keep them loose, and that may have backfired on me. So.
Right. Yeah, it's like I said, you're trying to give them the environment that they came from, where they have been for 9 months, kind of all cuddled and dark and not much room. So that's kind of what you're trying to do. But it doesn't last a couple weeks, and then they kind of want to, ooh, I got some room here, and start opening out and using their arms and using their legs.
Yeah. With that, the whole idea of wrapping them up, and then do you wrap them up when you put them to sleep like that?
Well, you can. We don't recommend putting stuffed animals or blankets in the crib. So like a sleeper, where it's kind of like a blanket, but it's like a one-piece outfit. You want to put the baby in the crib on their back. Okay. Yeah. We don't want them on their bellies, because babies don't have the ability to push away if something's in front of their face, so they can suffocate. And that has been shown that there are more babies that die from being on their stomach. So you always want the baby on their back to sleep.
Okay.